So you know what podcasts do that I'm starting to pay more attention to podcasts because, we're here doing it. They start the same.
Yeah, very consistent.
Very consistent. So your music and our little fist bump and you saying hello, how you doing?
That's all on purpose.
And you used to say, welcome back, champions.
Yeah, welcome back, champions.
Are we going to start doing that again? I mean, did we ever stop doing it? I guess I just only noticed that the other day.
I stopped saying the champion, but I like the
fist bump, hello, how you doing?
Hello, how you doing?
Welcome back.
Welcome back. I think it's good.
It is good.
We can go further.
Well, I haven't really thought about it. I just noticed it, and then I realized that was part of the grand scheme of it.
Right.
Beautiful intro.
Good intro. We can start whenever you want.
I almost thought that was our start.
Oh, are we starting?
Yeah. Run it.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
22.
Episode 22.
21.
21. We had 2 episode ones. I'm still stuck on that.
21. Because I actually got the graphics done for this early. So I'm thinking 22.
Oh, you're ahead of the game on this one.
I'm ahead of the game.
That's right.
I'm never ahead of the game on this, but we've been pushing everything back, and life is just getting in the way. And so here we are. We're actually doing it on Wednesday night, which we're always scheduled to do, and then bring it out on Thursday. So this is perfect.
We're on time.
Perfect. Really, really good. So it's good to see you. You got a lot of 8 speeds in front of us. We'll start there, I suppose.
Yeah, we can lead off on the 8 speed.
But we can lead off on the 8 speed.
And then we'll get into the more serious. This is a little bit of a light opener.
Okay.
So
people love this.
Yeah, the speed category kind of makes sense because I'm sure there's somebody listening out there that thinks I don't have an 8 speed in my bag, and then you're going to hear the different styles of discs here and think, well, that would actually suit my game.
Mm-hmm.
That does sound like a nice disc to throw.
Right.
And there's a couple on the table that you and I both resonate with because of how great they suit our arms.
Right.
So naturally, they're going to suit other people too. I guess I'll just start on this side. This is an Alpha. I found this to be a little bit more overstable than the flight numbers led me to believe, but I threw a Sublime Alpha, which is the MVP plasma plastic, made by MVP. They call it an 8502. It's supposed to be kind of like a T-Bird, just a fairly neutral fly-in 8-speed. You can definitely feel it's got a slightly wider rim than a T-Bird would have. And then we've got a grip more of MVP made plastic. Sticking with the mint theme, this is the Jackalope. This is a really, really special disc. I found this to fly a lot like a Sidewinder. They call it an 8.5 or 8.6 minus 2.2, I think are the manufacturer flight numbers. The smoothest turnover disc I've ever thrown. I absolutely love this disc. It was farther flying than my destroyers, and I was shocked at how good, especially in this Eternal plastic, this disc was.
Hard to beat that disc.
Yeah, really great.
Slower arms, absolutely love that disc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're starting to make it in the lighter weights now too. So 167s, 165s.
We've been saying that about Mint since it started, right?
Yeah, you don't see a lot of their lightweight stuff.
Such quality product, but it was always that 175. And I have an Alpha, and it's a 175, and it feels great, but it's just I have other 8 speeds that are 168 and whatever, and that matters to me.
Yeah,
it just does.
Is it a bit of a meat hook for you, or how does it actually fly?
Yeah, a bit.
Okay. Because I found it to be slightly more overstable too. So I like to get other throwers of the disc to see if it fits the same.
Correct. Whereas the Jackalope,
really reliably turned over.
Really nice.
Yeah.
That's actually a distance driver to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
That thing will go. Yeah, and if you you crank on it and it'll roll.
Oh yeah. If I throw it like flat, it'll hit the ground at a really, really nice angle, and it won't actually stand up and curl up to the right. It'll stay on edge for the entire roll.
Yeah.
So it'll actually even finish left. It was awesome.
Yeah, they're good discs. Really good discs.
Well, moving on. We'll stay on the back row here. We got the Latitude 64 Diamond. This disc is arguably the most popular 8-speed on the market. More popular than all these combined, from my viewpoint. It's a really lightweight, easy-to-use driver. They do make them in heavier weights, but most of the time we're going to see it in the lightweight. For the slower arm speeds, beginners, older people.
Is it like an 8-speed Jag?
A what?
Jade?
Oh, an 8-speed Jade. The Jade has a touch more stability. It doesn't have as
really?
much turn. Yeah, the
Wow.
Jade will turn over a little slower than the Diamond will.
Oh, okay.
And for the slower arm speeds, they're going to basically see this go straight.
What, more like a hatchet?
More like a hatchet for your arm, yeah. Where your hatchet pops up and goes straight for a long time, that's what the Diamond does for the slower arms.
Not my beat-in ones.
No. This is the Bear. The Bear is awesome. It's kind of been like a Thunderbird-ish disc for a lot of people. People are forehanding them, backhanding them. A touch more understable than the flight numbers would say, 8.6 minus half, 2.5. So it sounds like it's an overstable driver, but it's more neutral than it would suggest.
It hasn't been for me, but I have a Bonsai, and they're going to get there.
Yep.
I think they're really similar in flight.
Good. Okay.
Personally.
And they have very similar flight numbers, so that's good to hear. Actually,
they're not far off for a 50-mile-an-hour arm.
Good.
55, 52.
Interchangeable, different feel in the hand, same flight.
Correct.
Because the Bonsai has a really unique shape to it.
Yes.
The wing on it is a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the edge is sharper here and here.
This is what's interesting.
That
little edge. It's not a bead, but it feels almost like a bead.
Kind of comes up to a pronounced edge for
yeah,
sure.
But it feels like you can really, if you need to torque it, it's not going to.
Oh, and it'll handle the torque, yeah.
Yeah, it can handle the torque.
Dickerson's been throwing a glow Bonsai last year and probably the year before, and he just carves the woods with it expertly. It's really a joy to watch him do that.
See a lot of the DGA guys throwing that Bonsai.
DGA's got to be the most underrated brand out there. Hands down.
Making a huge move.
I don't think they have a bad mold at the moment.
Making
all their discs are awesome.
Yeah. Out of California, yeah?
Correct, yep.
Steady Eds?
They have discgolf.com. Yep, that's right, the Disc Golf Association.
It's pretty cool.
Got to be one of the oldest disc golf companies out there for sure. All right, well, we're a few minutes in on this, so let's keep it moving. We got the Volt and the Terra. They're pretty similar to each other. The Volt just has a touch more turn, so it ends up a little bit more neutral than the Terra does. The Terra is more of a true Thunderbird-ish.
What is the
disc.
Plastic on that? Because I felt that, and it was like no other MVP. Yeah.
This is an Electron plastic. This is their putting plastic, yes.
That feels really good.
And their Electron plastic is really popular in their drivers because of the way they beat up. When they beat up, they just get straighter and straighter and straighter, so you can trust it to turn a little bit with a reliable fade at the end.
Wow.
So like the Volt, they make Electron Volts as well. Electron Terras. I think they've made Electron Zeniths. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, they're doing good plastic blends for all of their molds, which is a dream. And it's actually a little bit fuller today because my restock finally got here. So the wall isn't as embarrassing.
It looks good.
A little more colorful. The Thief, I've heard this is a pretty good roller disc. It's an 8, what do they call it? A 5 minus 1.52. Certainly more understable than it would say. It looks like a kind of hard to compare that to something. It doesn't quite look like my Escape. It's got a blunter edge on it. The top has a shoulder like an old Discmania disc does. The parting ride's really low, so it looks like the disc is canted down like this. So it's got to be really easy to turn over. Speaking of turnover discs, the Stag. That's an 8.5. They've changed the numbers on this a couple of times. From 8.603 to like 8.5 minus 1, 2. I couldn't tell you what the exact numbers are right now. I know it's an 8-speed, but I found that disc to be extremely unique. There's not another disc quite like the Stag.
I have 4 of them.
Very glidey.
Yeah, they are. In this ice blend, which is probably the oldest of the 4 that I have, is a straight flyer with a little finish.
Yeah.
It's a really good push forward disc.
Yeah, point and click, hit a gap.
Right, and then I've got some of the ones that aren't as beat in, and I can count on those to turn a little bit sharper. So it's, I love it. I love the way it feels in the hand. It really fits well.
Yeah.
And I haven't been using it as a driver necessarily off the tee, but I probably use it more than any other disc right now, personally.
Wow.
And that's just someone in slower arm speed. I just find that it's very easy to get the right angle out of your hand. Super consistent.
Mm-hmm.
The plastics have been really consistent.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's going to do this. I know it's going to do that. It's going to hold its line a little bit better. Because we have a few shots out here. Not everything's a Heiser fest in Arizona. You still have to shape shots. And there's a couple reachable, obviously, they're par threes, but they didn't used to be reachable for me. But with that particular driver, I feel like I can throw it out and know that at the end it's going to go right into where it needs to, because that basket is sort of tucked away on number 6 at Kano, or 5 at Kano.
Yeah, so 5 is right now, there's a row of trees and it's kind of on the back left, and the trees kind of all guard it.
So it has to push past those trees and then fall,
really push.
And then fall in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it does that really well. I mean, you can do it with other discs. You could get a destroyer out there and just put on a big hyzer, and you can do it that way. I get it.
Yeah, it's a hyzer fest for the big arms. That should be specified, because everybody else needs to turn the disc over to get that kind of distance. Not everybody has a power 400-foot hyzer.
Right, but even so, I find the game more enjoyable when I'm trying to be creative.
I agree. So deeply, I agree.
Right. And you go up to Flagstaff and you do play, or you go to another state. It isn't so, oh my gosh, right?
Shocking.
Right.
I've never had to hit a gap before.
I've been carving shots like this in my imagination for a long time out in the desert.
Yeah, I watched the pros do it. Oh, I could do that.
Yeah. So highly recommend the Stag if you haven't got one. I can't say enough good things about it. It used to be the Jackalope, and then I've moved to the Stag.
Mm-hmm.
For now, I may go back to the Jackalope.
Completely different discs, same exact flight. You see that in every single company. Yeah. That's where it comes down to, like, you might hate a Stag, but you'll love a Jackalope. Yeah. They fly the same. They feel different in the hand.
Yeah. Jackalope's is a little flatter, but it glides just as well.
And it's got a blunter edge.
It's a great disc.
Such a great disc.
I also throw the Essence, another great disc.
Yeah, the Essence. So that one's comparable to a Sidewinder as well for me.
Yeah.
I know you have a special plastic blend because you've got that black Essence that's kind of a beefcake.
Yeah.
Because I've actually thrown it and it doesn't quite have the kind of turn on it that I expected out of an Essence.
Right.
Out of other Essences that I've thrown.
Right. It's not a Bonsai or a Bear, but it's somewhere in between.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good catch on that.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. Not as stable as a Bonsai, but it's right there.
I think 8s are really important, and I think they're fun.
They are very fun.
And it's we were having this conversation before this whole thing started tonight, and I can't say it enough. Like, I don't know that I need an 11, 12, 13 speed in the bag, because at the end of the day, if I catch this right, it's going to go as far as anything I can throw. So what am I doing? Why not just
focus in on the one that's more consistent, right?
Yes,
less error.
It's confidence, and then it's, that angle.
Yeah.
You're really comfortable with the angle, feels good in the hand, and I'm getting the same amount of distance as I do an 11 speed. Why throw the 11 speed and risk it?
Yeah. The percentage of error. That's what you see that's what you see with the pros a lot. They take the percentage of error shot. What's going to have the highest success rate?
Yeah.
And throw that. So
it sort of feels like, even though the game's progressing forward, I feel like I'm stepping back doing this, but I also think it's the right thing to do. I think to dial it in, and I feel that percentage. When I played a lot of golf, I could take my swing to 60%, 70%, 80%. I really had it dialed in. I could take one particular, like a 5-iron, and I could hit it on the mark at intervals of 10-yard differences just by speed.
Yeah.
Control. And coming into disc golf, I let the disc always determine that. Mm-hmm. But it isn't the case, because your miles per hour is 100% determining it. And I guess it is with the golf club too, but what I'm trying to say is that I was so determined to throw it 400 that I just thought I just have to get to 11s. I have to get to 12s.
I got to keep punching it every time, right?
And it's not at all true.
Yeah.
But it really is hard for younger players, older players just starting the game to wrap your head around that.
Now, the amount of new players that come in here and demand a 14 speed is really tough to talk them down.
Yeah.
Like, I have to have a katana.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
You don't. Just find a good fairway driver that feels really good in the hand and learn to throw it 400.
You'll enjoy the game a lot more.
I think so. So now I've got this many discs at home that are collecting dust.
A rack full.
Yeah,
but I don't know about collecting dust. I know you go and do a lot of field work where you just kind of pack some bags up and take a trip out.
I do, and I love doing that. It's also for health purposes, and I just think it's good to get out of the house because, especially after the holidays, I denied myself nothing. I don't know about you, but
oh god, yeah,
I ate and ate and ate. So it feels good that the weather's perfect here in Arizona now, and we're able to get out there and get some field work done. But I guess I finally talked myself into coming down in speed, and that's been I hope others hear that are in the same sort of within that 2 years of learning the game, and they're struggling with their distance, and they're trying to figure out the best way to get there. I don't think it's by jumping up. I think it's by actually moving back. And I'll send in a progress report. Or I think we're talking about doing some field work, so maybe we'll let people. We've also got a video of us playing, so if you can go back and watch that, you'll kind of see where I'm at and maybe compare. But sorry.
No, you're good, man.
You're on the T-Bird.
Okay, T-Bird 3. It's a flat top T-Bird. That's what that 3 means at the end for any kind of Innova disc. It's just a flat top T-Bird.
Oh, that's cool.
They do it with the Leopard. They do it with other molds.
It's very flat.
They have a TL3 too, which is coming up next. T-Bird 3, TL3. The L just means long. That's kind of self-explanatory.
Everything feels so good.
T-Bird 3 is extremely popular just because it's a more stable T-Bird, so people really can trust it to punch on it a little bit more. Where the T-Bird, when it beats up, it gets kind of understable. So it's almost something you have to power down on to get it to go straight. These stay on the stable side.
Yeah.
So you can really bomb these things if you've got a bigger arm. Same with the TL3. I mean, Ricky was throwing a TL3 for when he was with Innova, and he was throwing it like 500 feet. On a pure hyzer, it was just disgusting how much glide he could get out of that disc.
That's my point.
Yeah, exactly. 500 feet with a 9-speed, 8-speed. I mean,
I understand disc manufacturers. They make it. It's just like golf clubs, man. The next driver next year is going to be better than the driver I have this year.
So I better get the new one. No brainer.
Right.
So it takes strokes off my game, right?
Disc manufacturers have figured that out. Everyone. They got us. The hook is in the water, and we're biting.
And we're here for it.
Yeah. but they also do color them up nice, put beautiful plastics on them, make them feel great in the hand. Keep the hopes up.
Yeah, and keep the sport moving forward.
Right. Good job.
Like you said, driving innovation.
Good job.
Thank you.
I think people really, we see the comments. People enjoy when you do that. So I think it's worth the time.
I think we're going to do 2 speeds next week.
Ooh,
which is going to be about an hour and 45 minutes. So
you have to break that down into.
We're going to have a 3-episode series, like Lord of the Rings, of 2 speeds in the store. So
yeah, looking at that Rhino over there from Innova. I always thought that was a 4-speed. Now I see it's a 2-speed.
It's
crazy.
Low glide, low speed.
I like it. So we were going to, from here we're segueing to...
Contracts.
We can do contracts. I wanted to bring a couple of things up. And I'll put this on the screen so everyone can see. Innova is the largest. We all agree that Innova is probably the world's largest manufacturer of disc.
They produce more plastic than anybody.
So the fact that they've got 23 players that are, this list came from Ultiworld, so we're pretty looking at all the names in Ultiworld. Anyone can go on there, recommend that you do, check it out. But these are tour names. So, and we know that there's a lot more different levels that are being sponsored by Innova, whether it be they're getting a shirt and they're getting a box full of discs, or they're getting $500, or
they have a star team, they have a champion team.
It just goes all the way down, and everyone sort of follows that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the tier system of sponsorship.
So Innova really is leading the way in how these contracts are done, and I didn't really recognize that until Stephen helped put this together for us. But What's interesting is, and everyone's going to see it when they recognize at top, there's 11 one-year contracts.
So 11 players have a 1-year contract with
Correct.
INVA.
Correct. And what's interesting, if you go all the way to the bottom of this ledger, you'll see, or spreadsheet, you'll see that 60 out of 122 are 1 year.
Half the contracts are 1 year.
Yes. That is absolutely crazy. So if a manufacturer's signing you for 1 year, they know that you're not going to sell any discs. They're not going to have discs ready for you unless it's a renewed contract for 1 year. Maybe there's a carry through, but for the most part, it isn't like that, right? You're coming on for 1 year. You might have been throwing something else, or you haven't been throwing with them before.
And I mean, you see that all the time where the pros don't even bag their own signature disc.
Right. Okay.
Innova makes sense because they've got the factory store, so they can load up the factory store with really cool limited edition stuff that you can't get anywhere. I just learned that today that they had Nexus Halo pigs.
So what are they looking at as a manufacturer? What are you looking at if half of the tour players are getting 1 year to sign them to that 1 year? Are you looking at their social presence? Are you looking at their upside? Are you looking at all the above?
Well, there's a ton of factors that are going to determine whether a player is worth more or not. And of course, it's rating, your consistency, your presence in the community, what you do outside of tournaments and social media, what you do on social media. All that stuff factors into what makes a player worth it.
Right.
But the 1 year is, I mean, we've said it once, we've said it 100 times. It's a bit of an insult.
Well, here's what's interesting is that they're basically saying of the 120 players, FPO and NPO, and it's about a 70-30 ratio somewhere in there, Stephen, I think. Close to that, 60-40, 70-30, NPO versus FPO on these contracts. That we know through the ratings, perhaps, and some other factors, that there's likely only going to be 15 or 20 people that are going to win the whole year.
The odds make sense for that, yeah.
The 1 years are your bets that they might pop off.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sense of it. I really, because for sitting from a business perspective and looking out, it's a really, I mean, you got your Ricky Wysocki's locked up. You've got your Macbeth's locked up. You've got Simon locked up. Eagle's at 5 years.
I mean, Dickerson has to have more than a 1 year because he's capable of winning any given tournament. Same with
yeah, all those guys, but
Aaron
they're all
Gossage.
under 4.32. That's where they're all at. Even Gannon, who we all think has the biggest upside of anyone currently,
the safest bet in all of disc golf for a contract.
Really is. Only took 3. And then they turn around and they do an extension to Klein for 4.
Mm-hmm.
They both won the same major. So what's interesting is, I don't know. What's interesting to me is the other two that are missing out of that group are Isaac and his brother.
The Robinsons.
And they both have 1 year left on Prodigy. Well, that would seem like they're going to fit them in.
Imagine that.
To me.
Oh, my goodness.
That
what a transfer that would be.
They're going to fit them in. I think Prodigy's going to have a hard time keeping.
Yeah, because who else is going to shell out for it, though? With the House of Discs, I don't see them shelling out contracts that those guys are worth. Because if Isaac has another good year, there's no reason why he's not going to get a big contract.
Well, here's what's interesting. West Side, 2 people.
Yeah, 2
out of that
players,
120.
man.
Well, this will blow your mind even more. Dynamic Disc, 3.
Well, this year,
5. Those 2 companies, there's 5 players that they're sponsoring that are on the tour.
Well, and a lot of people have a lot of issues with that. The reason why that stat is that way is because House of Discs did not put contracts out for the players. I mean, there's a reason why Clemens left and Tristan Tanner left and Macy Veladiaz. They all left because they were given lowball offers and no room for negotiating.
Latitude, 15. All under the same House of Discs.
Latitude. Way to go, Latitude.
So does this not start to paint that picture we've been talking about for a while?
Ah, the consolidation.
The consolidation.
It's all Latitude now.
It's 100% Latitude. And it's going to be Latitude. Now, where does Discmania fit in and where does Castoplast fit in?
I mean, I've probably said this too once or twice. Lexus, Toyota. Toyota would be the Latitude. Lexus will be that Castoplast and Discmania.
Are you not seeing anything out of the Castoplast plastic bleed into the other Trilogy brand yet? Or
we already have, yeah. We already have. Their glow plastic got better overnight.
Then doesn't that flip that idea?
It does, yeah. It maybe puts it all on the same level with each other, but Castoplast has a reputation, and so does Discmania, as being a higher-end style company. Where,
okay.
I mean, it's not that Latitude is a lower tier, but they've got a lot more base plastics.
Right. No, I know 100% what you're saying. I'm just trying to figure out with you where those two land in this story, because they're not, when you look at 23 being on Innova's staff and 19 being on Discraft and 3 being on Dynamic, that says something.
It says a lot.
Right? Like you're not going forward with a lot of players on the books, so to speak. It's really interesting to me.
It's like there's not pushing the product.
Yeah, there's something there. There's just something there. I won't belabor it, but I believe that they're going to consolidate this thing at some point. And I love West Side, and we both have some Dynamic stuff, and you have a lot more. And Latitude stuff, great. Discmania, great. Castoplast, great. But it's really interesting to me where this thing gets put together, because I don't think the story's even remotely over, or it stays as is and we just go forward year after year. I think there's going to be a very big change in that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised, like I said it before, that Discmania moves out of Denver and they go down to Kansas. What's the town? I always forget the town.
Emporia.
Emporia. I was thinking Eureka. Emporia.
Well, now, do they still have a base in Colorado? I guess they wouldn't get rid of it, huh? I just know they were doing a lot more in
if you're
Sweden.
A conglomerate, if that's how these guys think.
Yeah.
They see two separate things on the books. We could put it all together under one roof and consolidate it.
Well, I know you want to minimize warehouse space.
Right. Absolutely. So it's going to be a hard thing that may happen sooner than later, but I'm just telling you that
it's on its way.
Venture capital and private equity, they see those things and they're not looking at culture. They're not looking at all this other stuff. And that's just the reality. So let's just, stiff upper lip and recognize that that's probably coming at some point, that everything's going to move down to Emporia and everything's going to get pushed out of Emporia. And that necessarily wouldn't be a bad thing, because I think we could use more Castoplast. I think we could use more Discmania products, and maybe that helps build inventory. And there was some talk early when they bought Dynamic that they might actually do some manufacturing in Emporia. Put a couple of those machines there and start cranking out that stuff.
Skip the shipping.
Yeah, right.
It only makes sense.
Right. They've already got Europe like super managed with everything they're doing at Latitude, right?
Yeah.
It's like state of the art.
They are very good at what they do.
Right.
The best injection molders on the planet, I think.
Well, we haven't, we'd love to tour Innova. I'd love to tour Discraft. I'd love to tour Latitude and have that
perspective.
Huh? Yeah. That would be pretty incredible. I think everyone feels that cares about that stuff would love that opportunity as well. But they're doing great stuff over there, and I can't imagine that putting manufacturing over here in Emporia would change that dynamic. I know we just bought the country club, so he's not going anywhere.
Jeremy Rusko bought the country club.
Right. He had a chance to let that go and let other people do it, and maybe consider moving that whole thing somewhere else. But it's so centralized.
Yeah, it's already got that history. I mean, you're buying, and that's a low risk buy.
I can tell you that I've had companies in Atlanta, and anything that's bought in California is 4, sometimes 5 ground days to get there. No one likes that because of Amazon anymore. No one wants to wait 4 days. No one wants to wait 5 days for a package.
Nope.
Emporia sits in the middle of the country. Now, if it goes east or it goes west, it's 2 days, 3 days max. That's really important, as long as it can get out of there. And I'm sure they got the logistics figured out pretty well.
Yeah,
so
they're very good at what they do there, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, thinking like a private equity person, you're looking at a map that makes a lot of sense. So Colorado doesn't make sense. Colorado's gonna go to Emporia at some point.
Unless there's taxation incentives to being in Colorado, yeah, it'll end up in Emporia. They've got to build from scratch.
I'm not going to get political, but no.
I don't know nothing about nothing, so okay. I'll take credit for it.
All right. Yeah. Well, there are certain states that are friendlier to smaller companies than other states.
I see. Okay.
And sadly, there's been a lot of exodus you've seen in the last few years of companies leaving states to go to other states because they can afford it. They can keep their dream alive. They can keep employees. These things are important and the backbone of this country. And so that's not going to go any further than that, though.
Well, that's a great way to say support small business, everybody.
For sure. Absolutely. So the other thing I wanted to segue into, unless you wanted to talk more about contracts, I just find it very interesting that half of the contracts on tour are 1 year.
No, I think we've plugged pretty good at that. That was really eye-opening.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting. So basically the tour is saying we know who the 60 are that are going to probably butter the bread, and that's where the money's going for long term. And it's up to the rest of you to get your games at the top.
Keep up.
Get on those final cards. Get the coverage going. And your life's going to change. It will, because there's money coming into this sport. Yeah, so we just had the, awful.
The All-Star event that you were not fond of.
Well, I've been saying we got to get our best foot forward. And this is a great time to do it. You know, we're trying to introduce people to the sport, and it feels like you can't control the weather. I get that. And the one part that I did see that I thought was really good was the long distance and where they were throwing it around the trees.
That was such a cool segment.
That was a really cool segment. And the putting was actually very good. So that part was on par. It was working.
That was the first day.
It was working. Yeah, it was working. Then we get into the next day, you wake up, you turn it on, and all you hear are raindrops banging on stuff, and 4 hours of a round, and the guys only played 9, and the next day it was just a mess. Slipping on the tees, early releases, stuff you never see from the best players in the world. So it's just one of those where it's hard to watch.
And you can't control the weather, but if it wasn't much of a spectacle, like I'm sure they didn't really want to be out there for the All-Star event.
Well, okay. So they didn't want to be out there. Yeah, playing in that for sure. And they're playing a hybrid course where it's not even the course they're playing this week, right?
Right.
So it's like they're not really gaining anything by getting the extra reps in. In sports, all-star events seem to be losing favor.
Yeah, like less people are tuning in.
Do they even have an NFL all-star anymore?
I don't know.
Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know. It's the biggest sport next to maybe soccer, right? In the world?
Well, soccer's easily the biggest.
Okay. Well,
football's the biggest in this country.
For sure. For sure, North America. And we don't even know if there's a all-star event for it. There used to be one in Hawaii. I remember that, and I don't even know that they do that anymore. So hockey just had theirs, basketball just had theirs, and those games are there's so much intensity in football and these contact sports and hockey. When they're in an all-star event, it loses all of that flavor. Now you're watching them sort of run through the motions, right?
That's all it is.
And
it's not even a practice.
Honestly, I swear, I think all of us are just like, we've got a lot more things going on. I'm not really tuned into this. You know, good for the players, good to be named an all-star, so on and so forth. And then along comes disc golf. And what's interesting is that the PGA doesn't have all-stars. Okay, tennis doesn't have all-stars.
No.
And this is an individual sport, so why does disc golf have all-stars? Isn't that weird?
What
In
was
that,
the point of
when
that?
you frame it like that,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things out of place, right?
Well, then it just makes you feel like, yeah,
square peg in a wrong hole. Right. Round hole. Right. It just doesn't feel like it fits. So I'm of that belief that if they're going to put 20,000, let's just say that number's 20,000 to run this 2-3 day event for the All-Stars. You got to fly everyone in. You got to fly staff in. You got the property costs. You've got all the players' costs. You've got you're putting them all up in hotels because everything's paid for. And we're hearing that they don't win anything for winning. There's some small amounts of a couple $100 here or there on some things. So
there's got to be incentive to go in the first place.
Okay,
so right. I'll put you up for a hotel.
Right. So
gotcha.
All right. So let's say it's 20 grand is getting on that. How about, well, this ties into what I said last at the end of the Tour Championship. Why don't they end the Tour Championship on a Sunday or a Saturday and then announce on Sunday and have a whole thing on Sunday? And the Tour Championship shouldn't just be the last players. I think everyone should play. I think it should be an event, but there's only a handful, like the NASCAR, that can actually win it. And
but everybody still participates.
But that way you're going to get people that want to come see it. You're not going to want to come see 30 players. You're not going to take the day off of work to go see 30 players when you can see 150 players.
Yeah.
A lot of shots, a lot of different approaches to things. That's a fun day. When you go to the golf course here, the Phoenix Open, it's way more fun to go on Thursday and Friday because the whole field's there. Saturday and Sunday, the field's cut in half. And then everyone's so wasted on Saturday, you can't go near that place.
Yeah.
It's a total, it's an S show is what it is. And everyone knows it. You go on your social media feeds and there's all kinds of stuff about people leaving that place on Saturday. It was just, I was there. It was a joke. It was embarrassing. It was a joke. You couldn't walk around. Yes, everything was a little wet, but they didn't control it properly. They were letting everyone come in. They were not checking to see if you had a pass. It was utter chaos. It was It was a huge disappointment.
It's got a reputation as being a bit of a party, so I'm sure they were just trying to funnel him and get the beer sales out of it.
Yeah. Well, they cut the beer off at 2:00. Everyone getting out of control. They were sliding down on their bellies on the grass. It was Woodstock. It was like Woodstock.
They cut the beer.
It's the PGA has now got Woodstock because it was out of control. And then they didn't have golfers on the course for 2.5 hours because they didn't get all the rounds in because of the rain. It was terrible management. And that is so unlike the Thunderbirds. They're normally so buttoned up, but this year it was just really not good. And I was there on Saturday, and I'll never go again. That was it for me. And I know I'm not alone. So my point in this, bring it back to disc golf, is that the Tour Championship, there was so few people that attended that. And I know it was right on the heels of the other major, right? So there's a little bit of burnout, and it's in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Right.
So you're going to get the same people to come back the next week when it's such a big, great thing the week before at the
USDGC.
Thank you. So, you're not, unless you brought everyone to come and compete. So I think that's what they should do at the end. I think it should finish on a Saturday, and I think Sunday they should crown the players of the year. Instead of waiting those month or 2 months to do that, you do it the very next day. You got everyone there. You have your Tour Championship. You have all the points are in line and finished and cleaned up. Now you name all of your all-stars based on probably the point system, right? Where you finished on the top to how many players get in each one. You know, Stephen, is it like six players, 6 or 7? How many get into MPO?
You mean like they're seeded?
Is there 8 guys?
For the Tour Championship? Where they're seeded into it? Or
No, the all-stars. How many get
the all-stars.
How many get to be all-stars? 8?
Well, there's 2 teams of 6, I want to say. So there should be 12 of them, right? Because then they use 2 for
12 MPO, and the same with the girls, or is there a little less for the girls?
There might be less for the women.
Okay. And we're in this sport, and we can't even tell you that. So
yeah, because I just don't have
much. Right.
Even when
but that's my point.
Yeah.
This is exactly my point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
why are we doing this? Why are you spending money on all of this? And we who are in the sport and care about the sport and are trying to grow the sport don't even know and don't even honestly.
The efforts and the money
Right?
could be better well spent on.
So what I'm trying to say, yes, and what I'm trying to say is this, is that at the Tour Championship, if you finish a day early and you keep everyone there for that Sunday, then you have a ceremony and everyone gets crowned. Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, all that stuff gets done. And then you announce who's the All-Stars based on the points. Because I think that's how All-Stars are picked. It's based on points. It's not a popularity contest, right?
I'm pretty sure it was a popularity contest.
Well, it shouldn't be.
It was like a voting, who do you want to see at the All-Stars?
Okay. Well, that's another problem in my book. It should be your top finishers are the All-Stars. They're the best players for that year.
They earned the spot.
So I think they should change it to that. And if you're the top 6 or the top 7 or top 8, that next year you get your All-Star disc because you're a part of the All-Star team.
There you go.
And you get to push that out all year. And if you're a manufacturer, and let's say you're going from one manufacturer to another, well, that one you're with that you when you did it as an all-star doesn't go with you. So there's some incentive for manufacturers to keep the player, and that would certainly work in the player's favor.
Well, that's better branding,
Right.
more awareness,
Right.
higher quality of.
He's going to be an all-star. He gets his all-star disc.
Yeah.
All this stuff goes out. I think all the all-stars should be recognized with a star that says all-star on their
that would
shoulder.
be cool. Like an insignia, like you wear your patch.
For the next year, they're an all-star, so when they go by you, you know that they were a top player from the year before.
Yeah.
That has value. Manufacturers will see that as having value. I think coverage. I think they should earn. If you're an all-star, I think the first, which would be this weekend coming up at Olympus, the all-stars are all on the cards with coverage. Those are your all-stars.
I see. That would be a cool feature card, right?
And that's a feature card type thing. And so it's same with the second card and so on.
I like that.
It's great, right? And just push it out that way. Don't have this all-star anything. Just put these guys on a pedestal for the next season.
That restructure would be huge.
It would be great. And I think they would really appreciate it. It gives them a chance. What's the one thing disc golfers, they don't need more reps. They need more cash. They need more opportunities.
To take it a little more serious.
Take that and put it in a better place for them to make more money for themselves.
Yeah.
I think that goes a lot. And they could be swag wrapped around that. There'd be disc wrapped around that. I think it's something to really consider. And I also think that they should have, not just on the first tournament that they go out as all-stars, in the round one at least, and then it is what it is after that, right? After you're playing, it mixes back up. But I also think it should carry into 3 elite tournaments. Not all of them, but everyone gets a card throughout the year where you're
interesting. Okay.
You're guaranteed to be in that final card first day.
Yeah.
So you know you're on coverage because you're an all-star. That's sort of one of the perks.
You've earned the coverage. That's a pretty cool way to do it.
That's a great way, because I know there's some incentives with some players that the more coverage they get, the more incentive there are. So if you're an all-star, boom, you know you're getting it.
I would like to loop back just to what you said about the Tour Championship and doing the presentation right after that. That goes back to what Brody Smith said, is why did we have to wait 3 months? All the way,
he was right.
Yeah, and because we were all confused too. I was like, "What? Why is this happening now? Why is this being put in front of me now?" Of course, Kristen Tatar was. We knew that ages ago.
Right.
She was the player of the year. Yeah, duh.
Yeah, you don't even make it a thing, and everyone's there, and it should be a big celebration, and then let everyone go home and just do their off season the way they want to do their off season. But it's wrapped up. The bow's on it. You know who your best players are. You know who's in the All-Stars for the next season. Yeah. It's all done.
You break the champagne bottle.
See you back.
Voyage.
See you back at Olympus in 3.5 months or whatever it is.
Enjoy your time.
Boom. Done. Clean. Yeah, I'm passionate about helping fix this, because you can't put that product out that we saw last weekend. And again, it rained, okay? Yeah, but it still was horrible. It just didn't.
Rain or shine, it would have been the same quality product. No, not much desire to watch it.
Well, the heart's not in it.
The heart isn't in it.
You can tell the players' hearts aren't in it. And I've heard throughout the week a little bit, and I've been busy with stuff, but times I have had a chance to tune into some of the other good shows that are out there. I did hear a little bit about, they were saying the same thing, that you could tell that players weren't committed to this whole thing. Once Anthony threw that 700-foot, the whole thing sort of went like this.
Everyone went, ooh.
Yeah, yeah. And good job, by the way. 700 feet is...
Way to go, bud.
It's quite an arm.
Pretty good arm.
And what's amazing is go out to your local course tomorrow and look at something that's 700 feet long, flat. And
just stand on a street.
Try and understand how much 80 miles an hour in your arm is. Like, it's just it's unbelievable. I want the world to see that, and the world needs to see that, because that disc in flight, there's nothing prettier than that. And as a matter of fact, the throw down the mountain, which is Olympus, right? There's a PDGA put it out, or Terry Miller's one of his social platforms put it out, but it's the shot that Paul McBeth threw on, it's a 600-yard par 4. You throw it out of a tunnel, you're up on a hill, throw it out of a tunnel, it goes, it's a wide open,
I know what you're talking about.
And it just, there's this wonderful turn on the disc, and then it goes back into the woods and then up a hill, and he parks it 600 feet. He put it 8 feet from the basket.
Yes.
It's one of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen in disc golf.
Yeah.
And more of that is going to change, I think, the trajectory of this game even to an even steeper angle, because I think that's the part that's missing. And sadly, we're on the same course this last weekend, and we can't see anything because the rain and coming out of the hands early and the water and it was just, it's unfortunate. But hopefully this weekend is better. You get to see the course in its new.
Yes, there was some YouTube coverage on it today. Some players playing.
Was there?
It's an awesome course.
Yeah, it is. It's a great property. It's good for them for saving it, and we're all hoping that this is going to be some redemption from last week. Yeah, because it
will be.
Yeah, but I think they need to get rid of it. Let's just get rid of this All-Star idea.
The rebranding is a good idea.
And rebrand it and make them All-Stars for the entire year. Give them a chance to make money. Put them on some cards. Mm-hmm. Logo them up for the season. I think people would take a lot of pride in being an All-Star all year. I think that would mean a lot versus the one day in the rain and it's done. And you don't make anything out of it.
That's not a really great way to appreciate the All-Stars,
right?
Is it? Like,
we need to appreciate them a little bit.
Here's a rinky-dink event.
Deeper than that. So, happy to help. That was it.
We're here for you guys.
I feel better.
Good. I'm glad. I could feel your stress about this. The way your hands moved. Yeah, you really had a lot to.
All right. Well, thanks for riding that out with me.
Should we lighten it up a bit? Because
what you got?
Fantasy disc golf is a thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more excited about anything, because I've had fantasy Premier League soccer teams since that was a thing. And I was really excited for that. I still do it every single year, put together teams, and I don't have any money on it. I don't have nothing on it. It's just a really enjoyable thing to do. I don't even watch the games. The fact that there's fantasy disc golf, I am obsessed.
So there's an app.
Well, there's a website.
A website.
It's called skipace.com.
Skipace.com.
This is not sponsored at all. They didn't pay me to say any of this. It is awesome.
Is this Terry Miller's partner in Smashbox?
I have no idea. I have never heard of Skipace until somebody said, hey, fantasy disc golf exists. And I freaked out and went right on it, created 2 teams, because I'm on a league for one, and then one is just my own fun little thing.
Cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, will you send me the link?
Yeah, sure.
I'll check that out.
Absolutely. We'll actually, you know what?
Because it's starting, right? It's starting on Thursday?
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, tomorrow, the next day, something. It's on its way, yeah.
Yeah, so you better get your names in, I suppose. All right.
Yeah, so get in and do it.
No, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and they do it ratings-based, so like they put the highest-rated players at the top, and you only get so many rating points. So you have to selectively choose who do you think is going to be the highest consistent finisher throughout the year, because it tallies by points. So a first-place spot is 1 point.
You're like a manufacturer trying to pick a player.
That's exactly what we're doing.
That's exactly what it is.
Who do you pick?
Right.
I was the 7th in the order of the 10-man league, and I couldn't be saltier because all my top picks were just gone. And then the player that I did get to pick first Great player, but he's not going to play until Waco.
Oh, no.
Eagle McMahon.
He's playing at Waco?
Yeah, he's playing at Waco, not at Chess.com Open.
Oh, wow. I didn't think he'd be back that soon. I thought it was going to be May.
When was his surgery? It was...
Yeah, but that's a long recovery.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I know a little bit about that.
I'm just salty for my own selfish reasons, obviously.
There's a lot of rehab on those. And
I want my fantasy team to do
it's a long season, so...
Yeah, might as well play it safe.
Well, that guy could play left-handed, too.
Yeah, he can.
Kind of crazy.
And still shoot 1,000 rated.
Kind of crazy. I think he's excited about his new sponsor. He seems like Simon last year, pretty rejuvenated.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
Yeah. Dad got a sponsorship. The girlfriend got a sponsorship. Everyone's MVP.
Yeah,
so
the whole family.
Cool. Oh, you know what? Should we announce the
giveaway?
Yeah, when we get to 1,000.
1,000 subs?
The Distinguished Doodle chipped in, sent us an email, and you can't see it over here, but an MVP disc station.
It's a 6-tier disc station.
Yeah.
It's quoted as holding like 300 some discs.
Yeah, they're a couple $100. All you have to do is subscribe, and you're in for the drawing. As soon as we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to pull the trigger. And I think what we're going to do over however long that takes is we're going to start loading it with some discs that we all have that I think you'll find pretty exciting.
And we'll do some other stuff too, not just discs. I know everybody has a ton of discs. We'll be able to do some apparel.
Oh, cool.
Some swag.
And we really appreciate the comments. Someone wrote back
we had a lot of comments on the last video.
On the last video, someone wrote back a really great where I was saying get it out of the woods.
A lot of you guys fired back at that, and I'm happy you did, because I wanted to fire back too.
Yeah.
While sitting next to you about, I don't want it out of the woods. It's entertaining in there.
No,
but it makes sense.
It belongs in the woods, but you also, the big complaint about this last weekend that I was hearing is that no one knew where the shots were. You didn't know if it was a good shot or a bad shot.
You have no idea whether they're even aiming.
And the woods are a lot like that. Until we can grow the sport to where it needs to be, you're going to have a balance. And that's all that we were trying to say. We're not saying woods is out. It's not going to be disc golf on a golf course. No one wants that, but there has to be a balance for a while where it's in the woods, out of the woods, in the woods, out of the woods type of vibe, type of feel, so that you can get more spectators in there and you can get people who can visualize these shots from not just, you can't get the 10 people behind the tee because you're in the woods and everyone's like this. You're trying to get in to see where the shot is.
Yeah, so if you want to watch your favorite player, you might not really get to see any of it.
You got to look at golf, and there's 1,000 people around the tee box and 10,000 people around a green. It's that type of mentality that you have to think towards. And I know the game's different, but we want the game to grow. We want more courses.
We want more eyes on the sport.
We want these players to make more money. We want more young talent coming in for that reason. And so to do that, I think you just have to make it visually a little bit better, a lot bit better, actually. So we've already hammered that out.
Yep.
So cool. There's going to be some great stuff. Thanks for hanging in there with us. And if you're still with us, we should give us something.
Give you something just for being here. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. All right, 21. Was that put a bow on it?
Zipped, yes.
All right.
Till the next one, guys.
See ya.